So if you're watching this video, you've likely been invited to be an instructor candidate for Lightspeed track events. One of the first roles that you'll do at a Lightspeed event is to pace the novice group around the track. But it's more than that. You are an ambassador for the sport of HPDE as well as Lightspeed itself. And so we look at all of our instructors and staff members as having the highest degree of integrity, respect, skill, and professionalism of all HPD instructors out there. So on top of that, let's talk a little bit about what the responsibilities are of a pace car driver at a Lightspeed event. It starts first thing in the morning, even before we have our instructor meeting, because we need to set up all the signage and canopies associated with the event. Another thing that we ask our instructors to do if you're going to pace car is to make sure you prepare your car early in the morning before it becomes an urgent situation. So make sure that you have an X on the back window of your car, it's empty, tire pressure set, torque, torque lug nuts, the whole deal that you do to your car before you put it on track. Please do that first thing in the morning so that when we begin to do our first novice session, there's no panic running around trying to get that done. We also ask that you check out a radio, set the channel to the channel we're going to be on for that day, and also grab a headset. I recommend an Amazon headset for the Baofeng radio. Looks like a little FBI coiled thing here that goes inside your ear. What I like about this headset is that you can wear a helmet over the top of it, and that way we can communicate with you while you're out there on the track. Also ask that you install the Signal app on your phone. Signal is another way that we communicate what's going on in the event throughout the day. I also recommend turning on notifications for that app, and if you have a smartwatch, making sure that those notifications go to your smartwatch as well. The typical things. Also ask that you learn and memorize the schedule. Because being on time to pace our novice group around the track is one of the most important activities that you can do. If pace car drivers are not there on time, we look disorganized as a group, and it's just generally not a good look for our organization. So if you have a problem being on time for things, and trust me, you're going to be busy running around doing a lot of things, maybe driving on track, maybe working with an individual student one-on-one. If you get distracted by those things such that you cannot remember the time that you need to be there, please set an alarm on your phone in order to make that happen. Next, we ask that you attend the drivers' meeting in the morning and show enthusiasm and excitement for the raffle and our sponsors. Our sponsors are a great bit of partners that really help our organization, and we like to rally a lot of excitement in the morning for them. And then we ask afterwards that you stick around for the novice meeting. So what happens after the larger drivers meeting, which includes all run groups, is that the event coordinator or whoever's running that drivers meeting will break all the run groups up into their run group leads. You, being a pace car driver, you are going to be assigned to the novice group for the day. It is possible that you might end up with a double duty assignment. We can work that one-on-one if you have other things that need to be done. But if your duty is to be a pace car driver, please stay with the novice group in the classroom when everybody breaks up. There's a couple of reasons we're going to do this, but the first one is I pair students in the novice group up with instructors. So for instance, if there are 25 students and we have 5 pace car instructors, each pace car instructor will have 5 students assigned to them. The great thing about this and what we've seen value in is that they have a single escalation point of an instructor to ask questions and get guidance for what's going on for the day, and they feel connected and ownership from having an instructor assigned, despite the fact that that instructor will not be riding in the car with them. So the other nice thing about sticking around for the novice meeting is that you get a reminder of what content I'm sharing with the novice students during the morning meeting. There is a lot of curriculum that we follow. It's very methodical what we teach them from session to session so that it builds upon each other. And knowing what we've taught is an important part of being able to communicate to your students one-on-one afterwards. Um, so that's the morning meeting situation where we come in, we set up, we do the driver's meeting, we break up into the all the run groups, we have a morning meeting session with the novice group, and then we break. After that, there is a time where we are going to go out on track for our first session. When the novice group is poised to go out there for the first session, pace car drivers need to be gridded up 10 minutes beforehand. This is to make sure as the students start to grid up behind pace car drivers that there are actually pace car drivers there. We've had situations where we have students just driving around not knowing where to go because not all the pace car drivers were there. I will mention that while we have tried to get students lined up behind their instructor, you know, the one you were paired up with, we've found that to be more challenging than what you would think. So generally speaking, I just line up pace cars behind any pace car instructor that's there. And I do that so in a manner that keeps an equal number of students behind each instructor. So I encourage you when you're there on the grid or in the paddock, wherever we're gridding up that 10 minutes beforehand, that you get out of your vehicle and you have conversations with your students while they're in their car. They're typically wearing their helmet, so it gives you the opportunity to check their chin strap. It allows you to gauge their excitement or nervousness and just kind of embrace what they're going through, because a lot of these people have never been on track before. So they definitely benefit from having a friend and a partner as they get ready to go out for the first time, especially the first session. Um, so where we grid up is different for each track. At Thunderhill, Laguna Seca, Button Willow, we grid up in the paddock because there's a lot of paddock room, and then we systematically send everybody to the grid right before the green flag drops. However, at Sonoma, it's a little bit different. We don't have as much paddock space, and so we grid up in the hot pits itself, which is a little bit more, I would say, chaotic, but we've made it work out okay. So what I encourage you to do is really understand the morning of the event, where we're gridding up, and when you have to be there. That's the most important thing. Now, while you're pacing your students around the track, please do so in the first session about 50 or 60 miles an hour. But more importantly, make sure that you've got all your students with you. If you start to lose, if you have 5 cars behind you and you can only see 4 in your rearview mirror, that means you need to slow down in order to catch up and make sure all your students stay together. Some of the most distressing times for our students on track is when they lose their group. And then they end up at the front of the next pace car group, and that's never good for that group that caught up to them, and it's never good for that individual car who technically is now pacing the next group and has no idea where to go on the track. So keep your group together. Also make sure that you really understand the line that we teach at the track. We have a series of track walkthrough videos for instructors where we're very explicit about where we want car placement, so it's consistent from track event to track event and from student to student, and we set them on the right path to go up to lower intermediate, higher intermediate, and advanced, where being at the proper place on track is super important. So not only know the line, but make sure you're driving that line while on track every single lap, including the out lap and the in lap. And we do that for the first two sessions. So I talked about the first session being 50 to 60 miles an hour. Well, after that first session, we've usually knocked the nerves down for most of our students. And we find that most people are capable of driving at a faster pace than that. So what I tell them in the classroom is if you keep the group bunched up, like within a couple car lengths from each other, while you're going around the track, that is a signal to the pace car driver that they can go faster and faster. And so I also mentioned that I don't think many people came to a racetrack to drive slow. So if you follow this action of keeping it bunched up, your pace car driver will go faster and faster. So keep that in mind, that try to add more and more pace if you have a tight group together. It's almost inevitable that one of the groups will have a slow person in it. So you may end up catching a slower run group if you're in a faster one, but at least let's try to get them some decent pace even in the second session. Now, during the second session, I also tell the students that you'll be lighting up your brake lights at the approximate braking locations in each, entering in each corner. Not that that's where you have to light up your brake lights at that speed, but where you would normally light them up or where you would normally be braking going into that next corner. So just keep that in mind. Again, if you attend all the novice meetings, you'll get a more muscle memory of what's taught and what the expectations are. After the first two sessions, they are essentially solo from the sessions beyond that. And truth be told, most of them still don't know the line. And so we like to send some of our pace car drivers out to kind of lead the group on the first lap or so. And then we have a mechanism where the instructor will tap the roof of their vehicle to let the car behind them know, hey, I want to show you something and how we're going to drive around the track. Typically, when I do this with the students, it's only for a few corners or a half a lap. Rarely do I even go a full lap with a student, because again, there's a ton of students out there and not all pace car drivers are going to be out on the track. So pace them through a couple of corners, remind them where the line is, point them by, and then go back to your next student. And then see how they're doing. I also ask that you report to the novice lead exceptionally slow and or dangerous students who might need a little additional assistance. We do have the option of putting an instructor in the passenger seat. It might be you. Get in the passenger seat of that car in order to calm the driver down or get them online, making sure that they're braking at the right spots. You can also do a one-on-one lead follow with one of those types of students to help get them on track. But please keep in mind, we sell private coaching at Lightspeed as an additional service. So this is not a full driver coaching session. It's meant to make them safe and comfortable in the car so that they can enjoy the rest of their event. The novice lead also wants to know about drivers who are exceptionally good out there on track. They're on the line well. They're navigating traffic. They're getting cars around them, and they're really ready to move up to low intermediate. Sometimes these students might be first track day event people, but they've got some other type of experience, whether it be sim, go-kart, motorcycle, something like that. They might have some other experience that is shortening their learning curve. Some of these students might be there 5, 6 events before they're actually comfortable moving up. But please keep an eye out for those students. We only want to move them up when they're ready. As previously mentioned, please be an ambassador for the sport and Lightspeed. When you're out there on the track, this is not the time to try to set a PB in the novice group. It's not going to happen. Traffic is atrocious in the novice group. You're not going to get a clean lap if you try to do that, and it's not the time to do it. And I also hope it goes without saying that as an instructor at Lightspeed, keeping all four wheels on the pavement and not spinning is an absolute paramount. Do not do that and set a bad example for our students. We talk about a safety pyramid with our novice group, and those behaviors that keep us on track and keep us safe and our cars undamaged. And we want to make sure that our instructors are enforcing those same types of behaviors. And then at any time, please make sure that you are driving a perfect line on the track. Whether you're out there on your own running in the advanced group, because you're still looked at as an instructor, you still have that X on your back window. And also make sure that you're attending all the download sessions and reinforcing the teachings. One other thing to mention is when we're doing our pace car sessions, number 1 and 2, the first 2 sessions, please turn on the hazards on your car when you go out. It's optional if you want to keep the hazards on in session 3 and beyond. I do, because I want it to be really clear to the students that are out there what I'm doing, and that if I'm doing something unique with a student, it's expected to do. So that's your role as a pace car instructor for the event. It's relatively simple. You will be busy because instructors need, or students need help throughout the day. And please take care of our students. These are future customers. These are the ones we want coming back in order to run in higher run groups. So now let's take a little bit of a talk about what the novice curriculum looks like. So as I've mentioned, there are 5 track sessions throughout the day. And there's a morning meeting session that precedes the first on-track session. So you'll see I've got the track sessions in blue on the bottom of this slide. So that kind of paints a better picture for what we're teaching and then when they're going out on track, because it often gets confused about whether we're in download 3 and whether that followed the download or session 3 on track or is before session 3 on the track. So this is to illustrate that. As I mentioned, in the morning meeting, we do pair up instructors. We assume everybody there has never been on track, and that's typically 60 to 70% of our classroom has never been on track. So we must 100% focus on safety. We don't have time to talk about apexes and vision and situational awareness. They're going to be behind a pace car, so they are going to need those skills later on in the day. But right now, we need to get them to know how to get on and off the track, what the direction of the track is, what the flags mean, where the flag stations are, and how this lead follow process works. Now, one thing I didn't mention about the lead follow process is that every lap we will rotate the car that's directly behind the pace car. I'll illustrate this in a couple minutes on a different slide, but just understand that a certain area on track, and I'll go ahead and tell you, at Sonoma it's between turn 6 and 7, at Thunderhill it's between 15 and 1, and at Laguna Seca it's between 11 and 1, where we will rotate the car that's immediately behind the pace car. That car will go to the back and everybody else will come up. Again, I will cover that in more detail in just a couple minutes. And then once we're all done, I release them with instructions such as to empty their car, make sure they have the tow hook installed, all those things that they need to do in order to be on track, because they may or may not have done that before coming to the driver's meeting. I've already explained that we need to be up there 10 minutes beforehand to get them to grid up. We'll go out there for our first session, and it's going to be pretty slow. and then we're going to come back in and there'll be a download session immediately following this. Now that they've seen the track, we can start teaching them a little bit more about the intricacies of how we drive a racetrack. One of the first things I do is I cover the concepts of situational awareness, smoothness, and vision. Those three concepts together really are something that even us at instructor levels, we focus on all the time. We want to improve our situational awareness. We're always looking through corners, forcing our eyes up to see what's going on further ahead. And these are things that they're going to be practicing and learning and breaking old habits throughout the entire day. I also talk about the anatomy of a corner, so please don't talk about breaking point, turn in point, apex, and track out before they go out there for their first session, because I haven't even explained it to them yet. But after the first session on track, I do cover those concepts and those four terms specifically, and I do talk about what an early turn in and an early apex looks like. That's the dangerous one where you drive off the track on exit. And what a late apex or started by a late turn in looks like, which is the one where you can't really track the car out because you apexed it so late. I talked to them about those, and I will mention that at Lightspeed we teach a traditional line. Some of the groups you may have instructed with may teach a very conservative school line that's late turn in, late apex. We don't do that. We want our students driving the proper line on the track from day one. It makes it easier to talk about the importance of tracking out and using all the track when it's hard to do so when you're really late apexing some corners. Now, obviously, when I'm working with a student on track, I will favor a little bit of a later turn in, a little bit of a later apex until I feel comfortable in the car with them, that they're not going to drive me off track. But just kind of keep that in mind that there isn't a specific school line at Lightspeed, or I'd rather say our school line is the traditional line, the line that you should be driving while you're on track. Now, I do talk a lot about combination corners as well, especially at Sonoma and somewhat at Laguna Seca and Thunder Hill. We've got these combination corners that are super complex. If you think about Sonoma, 3 and 3A, or 8 and 8A, and transitioning those to be on the right section of the track while you're exiting the last part of the last corner. So we talk about that a bit, and we go over specific corners in this session, but full transparency, download 1 where we're teaching this information can get overwhelming and has the potential to go really long if the students are asking questions, or if whoever's leading the classroom is having to get into more detail because they can tell that they're not grasping it. So we will cut this off and sometimes not go into track specifics just yet. Once we wrap up with this, I try to keep download 1 to about 30 minutes at most, and then we go out for session 2. Same rules apply for session 2 as they did in session 1. Be there 10 minutes ahead of time, talk to your students, show excitement, and get them feeling good about what they're able to do. Just pick up the pace just a little bit and try to get your group to go at a little bit faster clip around the track. Once we're done with session 2 on the track, we come back for our second download session. And this one is super important because the next time they go out, they're solo. They may not have a pace car anywhere around them, and they've got to figure out the line all on their own. So we talk about some techniques such as the controls on the car, how to unwind from the apex off while we're rolling on the throttle. We talk about the slow release of the brake. I will share string theory with them, and obviously smooth single application of every control. So the wheel should unwind and wind and unwind just once. I should restate that. The wheels should wind and unwind once. The accelerator should accelerate and decelerate just once. Same with that brake pedal. It should all happen just once. I don't want students stabbing at controls and trying to gather the car up, especially when they're driving at 6/10 of the capability of their car. They really need to be focusing on those smooth controls. So I also talk about navigating traffic. This is the first time they're going on track solo, and they are going to have to pass and be passed. I talk about passing zones, passing rules. I also talk specifically about how to present themselves for a pass, because we've had this situation at an event at Laguna Seca not too long ago. Very irate students come to me, one saying I didn't know that they wanted to pass, and the other one insisting that they were right behind them, waiting for a point by and doing everything right. But when we looked at the video, the car wanting to pass was 5-6 car lengths back, and looks like they were just driving in line. It didn't look like they actually wanted to pass the car. So I talk about offsetting just a little bit, being very clear that this is not the blind spot of the car. The blind spot would be here, but offset a little bit so the driver in front can see them in their side view mirror. I also talk about making eye contact in that side view mirror with that driver, in order to let them know I'm here and I'm looking to pass. And then if there's an incident of somebody not giving point buys, I can ask that question directly. Did you make eye contact with them in the mirror? And typically they will come back and say, I tried, but they were just looking straight ahead. They never looked in their mirror. Okay, so this is something we can work with now. But what we were dealing with at Laguna Seca, a little bit more difficult to work with because of the lack of clarity about whether it was the passer or the passee that was the problem in that scenario. So we talk a little bit about slow in and fast out. Back to the passing thing and getting really quick. I do talk about the Vet-Miata paradox and the fact that faster cars are going to have to lift off the throttle in order to let people pass. Hopefully that doesn't become a big issue. I do make a big deal about it in the classroom. And I actually sometimes ask the students, who's driving a car with over 350 horsepower? And those are the people I'm like, you guys are going to need to lift your throttle for people like me driving a GR86 or Miata or something like that. I'm fast, but I cannot catch you on the straightaway. So back to fast in, fast out, or slow in, fast out. I do talk about this very specifically because accelerating from the apex off while unwinding the wheel is a very easy technique to teach when you're overlapping controls. Trail braking, the fast into a corner, where you're braking much later, you're carrying much more brakes, sometimes all the way to the apex while you're getting that car to rotate. Far more difficult to do, something we are not going to try to accomplish in a novice group. So I do cover that a bit. I also talk to them a bit about what they're going to do if they have to go off track. They're going to get more grip on the pavement, so slow it down as much as you can before you end up in the dirt. But when you end up in the dirt, understand that your grip levels have gone away, your steering isn't going to work as well, your brakes aren't going to work as well. Straighten out that wheel and balance this deal between, not spinning the car out in the dirt, but also not hitting the wall. So you have to balance those. I also talk to them about what it's like to get back on the track, and the fact that they've got to be very careful coming back in the track. I talked to them about the fact, sometimes, like on the exit of 3 at Laguna Seca, exiting far out, going off track, but then when coming back onto the track again, they spin it and go on the wall on the inside. And so really trying to avoid that. After that, we send them out for their first session, or their first solo session. And typically there are passing issues. Typically there are issues with either one long massive train, which I will try to handle via the black flag, but sometimes it's just unavoidable. We do the best we can. Long trains frustrate customers, and we try to teach our students how to pass. So when we come back in the classroom after our third session for download 3, there may be some dialogue about passing. In fact, most of the curriculum for download 3 is very ad hoc. It has to do with how many black flags we had, did we have trains, what was actually going out on the track with a bunch of people who have never driven solo on track before, or a lot of people who have never driven solo on track before. If we can work past all that stuff that we talk about, then I like to transition into more technical talks. And I do mention to them that this is a difficult sport. This is not something that you come to a couple of track days and then you start going out there setting PBs and working on lap times and stuff like that. This is hard stuff, and you're not going to get it right off the bat. Because some students are a little slower on the uptake than others. And so I want to make sure that they're comfortable and feel comfortable coming back. And mentioning that seat time is an important aspect of that. And if they don't come back, they're not going to learn. If they do come back, be patient with their own learning curve. Technically, we do talk about weight transfer a little bit. Very specifically, I try to illustrate the importance of transferring weight on the car and using it to our advantage. Again, I'll broach this topic of trail braking about how we leave weight on the front of the car by not popping off the brake in order to increase the contact patch of the tire in order to improve the grip as we turn in. Sometimes that works with people, sometimes it doesn't. I do have some graphs that I show and some pictures that may resonate with different people different ways. But that's a big part of what we do in download 3. And if there is time, I will talk more about track specific knowledge. A lot of people want to talk about the line right now. A lot of people want to, they forgot what their pace car driver showed them, so they want to talk about the line. Sometimes if we don't have enough time to talk about it as a group, I'll ask them to partner with their pace car driver, the instructor they've been partnered with, and you guys can use the whiteboard or whatever necessary to talk about the lines on the track. I also talk about our promotion process, which is how we advance people from novice into lower intermediate. After this, we send them out for their fourth session, and it's usually a lot better than the third session when we send them out. They've got the passing thing down now. All the things that we've been talking to them about, it's starting to click, and we see how things go better. So, and then on download 4, typically our 5th session is combined with lower intermediate. So we have to get together with the lower intermediate group and agree on passing rules for the combined group. This is largely dependent upon how well both run groups were doing on track and whether I think and the lower intermediate lead thinks that they can navigate the passing rules. Truth be told, the rule that's there's still point by required. It's more about a couple of passing zones that get opened up in lower intermediate and whether we're going to open that up for novice or not, or whether we're going to dial everybody back down again. I do stress with them the importance of understanding that there is a much bigger speed differential and skill differential that they're going to be dealing with in this 5th session, meaning that there are some lower intermediate students who are on the cusp of going to upper intermediate, and there are some novice students who have never been to the racetrack before. So those are two varying different skill levels, and there's got to be a lot of patience. Patience with passing and waiting for point buys, but also patience with maintaining the mirrors, watching the mirrors, and things like that as they're going forward. So then we go out for session 5. There is obviously is no download after that. We just leave the track. We leave after that. Hopefully there's no incidents. There rarely is. There's a lot of people don't stick around for that last event. So that's the novice curriculum. And as I promised, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how the lead follow rotation works at our Lightspeed events. So right now, what we're talking about here is you're the pace car, you're this blue pace car, and you've got 4 students behind you. Now, what we do when we exit the final corner before we're going to rotate, and let's just take Sonoma for example. On the exit of turn 6, the pace car driver puts their arm out their window and does a rotating lasso. And what this lasso means to the car directly behind them is that they need to drop back out of line and allow the other cars to come back up. Now, as Mario loves to point out, the car dropping out of line isn't going to drive backwards. They're just going to slow down and let everybody else come back. So we do this every lap except for the out lap at Sonoma. Given where pit road is, we do this for every lap at Thunder Hill and Laguna Seca, but we don't do it for the out lap at Sonoma. We want the car immediately behind the pace car to see the full lap, or in this case, lap and a half. Now, which side they're going to drop out is different at each track. And I'll cover that in just a moment. But first, let me talk a little bit about where we're going to grid. At Mazda Race or WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, we grid up in the paddock. The blue cars are the pace cars and the green cars are the students. I show this exact slide in the classroom. This is where I want them gridding up. Now, sometimes there are events going on, like a motorcycle school or something, that they're using this area, and I may have to call an audible at the last minute without changing the slide. So just be aware, if we're going to call an audible, the group lead will let you know where they're going to be lining up instead of this picture. But then the idea is, as the novice group lead will be here, the novice group lead typically isn't a pace car driver unless absolute necessary, but the novice lead will be here and will be looking for when the checkered flag comes out for the group that's currently on track. At that point, each group will one at a time go and line up nose to tail in the hot pits and then wait for the flagger to release them out on track. Please give space between the groups, so at least if the group in front of you is really slow, at least you'll have some part of the track where you can drive at speed. Sonoma is a little bit different. I've mentioned this previously before. I show our students that we are in the media center. I show them that where their car is parked, and we do enter the hot pits in between the two hot garages, or between the two garages, and we stop at the turn 12 flagger. There will be a Lightspeed grid marshal here, as well as a track grid marshal most of the time, who will assist from that point on. Now, pace cars are up here. I will mention that we do not allow cars to come down this ramp unless they're super low, like a Radical or a GT race car, something like that, that's coming through this way. So the pace cars are lined up here. Now, I want to mention that the pit road, the hot pits at Sonoma, is wide enough for about 5 cars. That means if we put 4 pace cars side by side, we still have 1 lane for cars to get on and off the track for the group that's currently running on the track. Think about it. If somebody on track gets a black flag, they have to come talk to the turn 12 flag station, and then they're going to be waved back on track. But if they can't get by our pace cars, that's a problem. So please keep 4 cars side by side, and if there's a 5th or a 6th pace car, you can sit back here, and what I'll do is the novice lead is I will assign cars to you. I call them stragglers at that point, as I'm waving these four groups out on track. It ends up working out okay. I just wanted to mention we can only be 4 cars wide at Sonoma. So now at Thunder Hill, we do something very similar as to Laguna Seca. We grid up in the paddock. Same rules apply, and then we enter the hot pits here, and then there'll be a Lightspeed and a track flagger at the grid. When they exit the track, all exiting of the track will happen in this one area. So I do share this slide with the students in the classroom. So I do want to talk about the promotion process really quick. to promote a student from novice to lower intermediate, we do have a two-step process. The first one is a Google quiz. It's 22 questions. There's no passing grade. All that I ask them to do is to take their missed questions and go talk to an instructor about it to make sure they understand why they missed the questions. Let's not be too critical of the quiz. A lot of people, English is not their first language, so we have to be cautious with how we allow these people to work through the first of the steps of the promotion. The second one is some type of instructor sign off. We either do a check ride, a lead follow, or we can even review their data if they have a catalyst or something. And all we're looking for is that they know and drive the proper line, they're facilitating safe passes, and they're demonstrating some degree of situational awareness while they're on the track, if you can see it. If they can drive the line and they are passing and being passed safely, and display situational awareness, and they understand the material in the classroom via the quiz, we are good to go. We can let them advance up to lower intermediate. Please let me or whoever your novice lead is know, and we will get them updated in lower or in motorsports reg for the next time that they register. The last concept I want to assign here is something new. This is something I'm introducing at the novice level called the HPDE safety pyramid. And this is loosely based on Heinrich's ratio, which is a industrial safety concept, and it states that for every major injury or fatality, typically there are 29 minor injuries and nearly 300 near miss incidents. So there's a lot going on before there's actually an industrial safety issue. And loosely related, HPDE is the same way. We've got a lot of weird things going out there on track before somebody gets hurt or a vehicle is damaged. And if we can reduce the weird stuff that's going on, ultimately the behaviors that are causing this, we can better reduce the chance of a vehicle damage. So I do walk through this pyramid a little bit, showing that for every time a vehicle is damaged, there's likely a lot of zero cost incidents. These are the ones that we typically know about because there's a black flag associated with it, but a car spins, they leave the pavement, or there's near car contact. Something along those lines has happened. So for every black flag we see, that's a tick in the wrong direction towards a potential vehicle damage in this or the next session. And I also talk about how the near misses lead up to those instances, right? So are we having, little tank slappers going on out there? Maybe we're missing braking points. We're forgetting where our braking points are. Well, that's a near miss that doesn't even cause a black flag, right? So we may not even know this is happening. But underpinning all those near misses are these unsafe acts and behaviors. A lot of them are ego. I've talked about this pyramid with other instructors, and the ego is probably one of the bigger ones that we need to address. Poor car preparation, sure. Peer pressure, yeah. Over driving, typically related to ego, but may just be not understanding the capabilities of their vehicle and just crazy understeer in their car, chattering the front end just because they don't know what to do differently. And what I'm going to start doing with the novice group is keeping a scorecard for them throughout the day and share this with them at the download sessions. And in this particular case, if they go out there, they get no black flags. This is wonderful. It's impossible to have a vehicle damage incident if there were no spins or cars leaving the pavement or near car contact. It's almost impossible for that to happen. However, if the session 3 where they're going out on their own results in like 6 black flags, not that that happened at the last Thunderhill event, but if there's 6 black flag situations, it allows me to illustrate a point of, you guys are getting away with them right now, but the chances are you're not going to continue to get away with them if you keep driving like you are. And I encourage the groups themselves to provide a little bit of peer pressure within the groups to get everybody driving within their means. So this is kind of the summary of what we do at Lightspeed events, from an introductory to instructing. As I mentioned, all instructors will start off as a pace car driving instructor at a minimum, no matter how much experience you have, at a minimum, just to understand how the Lightspeed process works. But it's also a great way to teach a new instructor how to work with students, and for us to evaluate instructors as far as their capabilities go. We have a great team of pace car drivers right now, so I encourage you, if you have any additional questions, talk to any of the instructors about how they run their events and get best practices. So I hope this was beneficial, and I look forward to seeing you at the next Lightspeed event. Cheers.